Hello everyone. This time I have a question from one of the viewers. His name is Halter, and he's asking, why are you wearing a shirt and a tie? Do you feel your viewers take you more seriously with it? Do you feel more important with it? Do you think you look better in it? Or do you feel more comfortable? Thank you, Halter, for the question. I will definitely speak about the significance and the importance of clothes, of the image that we project outside and how we are being perceived by society and how that influences our approach in our professional environment and our success or failure in the professional environment, in the personal and social life. So this is definitely a theme that I'm really thankful that you asked this question. I'm going to talk about it, and I hope that it really can give some tools and it can give some kind of orientation why this subject is important. And I know that normally we tend to say, like, don't judge the book by its cover, because we really want to understand and we want to touch the essence and the core of people. So people may be good, but we don't want to use, or we don't want to be deceived by the mask. So we kind of tend to underestimate or to ignore why it is important to get dressed or to wear certain clothes. But I will speak about this a little bit more. Before that, I'd like to speak about one thing that is also very important to pay attention to. And I already talked in the past in one of my previous videos about the theme of projective thinking. And I think that it's important to use this question just to remind and just to make people a little bit more aware of that. The idea of projective thinking. You begin your question with, after you ask why are you wearing a shirt and a tie, you feel viewers take you more serious with it. So you assume how I feel, regardless of who I am. Do you feel more important in it? You ask this regardless of knowing me. You don't know me, what I feel, how I should feel, because my world of conception is totally different than yours. And do you think you look better in it? So I feel things that may be different than how you would feel it if you would have been in the same situation and in the same place. That's why it's important to be aware of this idea of projective thinking. You are projecting something that has to do with you on me. And I'm going to explain my reasons. But I thought it is important to talk about this because many times we might, let's say, sabotage good opportunities when coming with prejudgment or with this projective thinking. So when I say projective thinking, if you would have been in my situation, you would have felt more important if you would have put on a shirt and a tie. And that judgment also prevents you from trying, because already you put it in a negative connotation and you don't want to be judged like the person that you're judging. Let me check the camera for a moment. I think I just want to check that everything's fine. Yes, everything was fine. I'm trying to make this video without cutting and editing, so because it would take some time to edit it, so I'm going just to improvise and to talk like this. Anyway, so after we understand the aspect of projective thinking, allow me to go back now. I hope that we understood it. Now allow me to go back to our theme, which is clothing. And though we tend, as I said, to speak about how important it is to speak about the people, the inside, which is very important, but unfortunately in our society we make judgments very quickly. And if we would have been in a better world, statement would have not been important. Now here's the thing, how you get dressed is also a statement. And I'm not saying this as a, I'm not trying to conceptualize that, but I'm explaining why I'm dressed like this. Now, in my primary school, I don't know how your school was, but in my primary school, we had to wear uniforms. And our uniforms were normally blue shirt, and everyone in the school had to wear the same uniform. So blue shirt, and from a certain age, you begin to wear a white shirt. I have no idea where they invented that concept, but the idea was like to maintain equality or to maintain a sense of order, that people wouldn't think that they are better than others, or let's say rich people wouldn't feel that they are more privileged than less wealthy people. So everyone had to dress the same. And believe it or not, though everyone had to dress the same, but you could have seen which one is, or which one dedicates more attention and which one pays more attention to the small details. I'm very glad, because my mother, for example, used to wash my clothes when I was a child, of course, at school, every day. Now, I know a lot of people in my class that in a poor neighborhood, they would have slept in the same uniforms, and their mothers didn't even change their clothes in the night. And they came back to school with the same uniform, and they smell bad. They didn't take a shower. But I was very lucky to have, let's say, a mother that paid attention to the small details, and I had to prepare my stuff, to make order and to organize my books, and to wear clean clothes, clean uniform every day. So it's not only about the uniform and about the dressing code, which I will also speak about. It's also about how much attention we pay to the small details. So this is even more important than just wearing a uniform. They all wear the same uniform, but who pays attention to the small details, and who doesn't care, or who doesn't see? That would create the huge difference between that student and that. So for me, it's, let's say, it's a habit since school. Of course, when I grew up a little bit, I tried to be a little bit more rebellious, and but this also changed back, because you know, society perceives me, or when I interact with people in relationships, we tend to make judgments very quick. And I was very lucky also that I had those tools from the primary school and from my childhood and from my, let's say, the education of my parents, that gave me those tools that I can really interact in the outside world without needing to hurt myself. There's a lot of people grew up in families without those tools, and I'm not speaking about poor families necessarily, also about rich families, that they don't get the tools of how to interact and how to survive society and relationships outside their inner cycle. And being able to survive that on your own, outside in the jungle, let's say, outside the protective environment of your parents, that's something else. And that requires a lot of tools and a lot of senses, sharp senses, to be able to make that. Now, just like in nature, one of the themes of how to make it, how to survive that world outside the protective environment, of course, is clothes. It's only one thing, it's not everything. So you can't just take this video and put it as the thing. It's only one aspect of how to make it. Clothes are not only, let's say, covering your body. They are also protect you from the cold, and when it's too hot, so it can you can adjust the temperature of the body through clothes. It can cover you. It can but what I'm going to talk about is about the message that we use to send. In nature, when animals interact, they send each other messages all the time. So you can see which when the lion is seeing a deer, and they look which is the weakest deer, how they walk. Is their leg broken? Is the leg of the deer broken? So that would be an easy target. So let's say the prey wants to send a message, so they show how high they jump, for example, or how fast they run, to send a message that you don't want to mess with me. You'll get tired and you will not be able to catch me. Not only in the jungle. If you look at armies around the world, they don't need to make wars to be able to show who is stronger. It's enough to make a parade and to show how disciplined the soldiers are, not only by walking, also how much attention they pay to the small details of how their uniforms are set. This is very, very important, to send a message of I'm strong, I'm aware, you don't want to mess with me. So I'm not speaking only about conflicts, but in general, also when you want to build a romantic relationship, or you want to create a professional relationship, you want to take control. If you have a defined objective, if you know what you want to take control on how you are being perceived from the outside, because that would have a say in, let's say, giving you that opportunity, in helping you achieving that objective that you've already defined. So I'm just speaking to you now the why I'm wearing clothes, not as I'm trying to figure out now when I'm improvising this video with you. Let's say that this knowledge is coming from childhood. I didn't invent it. The adult world is not as easy as the children's world. So I'm really happy that I'm in that place. Even like I spoke about clothes, but it's not only the clothing, it's also, let's say, every message that you send. I have this ring. It shows that I'm married. So normally in my previous videos I didn't wear it so much, but I chose now to wear it, and maybe because I wanted to talk about this video and to explain the idea of sending messages. When I had an experience in the past and I went to make a workshop in an office, and one of the workers there, and most of them are single, and I didn't have my ring. So there's a female worker there, and she tried to create kind of, I talked in the past about passive aggression, so try to create tension with me through, after that she also spoke about this, she told me this, but I catch it immediately. She tried to create a sexual tension that if I would have been complying with that tension, that might create a romantic relationship. But since I was married and I had no interest in having any romantic or personal relationship with her, so I realized and I detected the vacuum that she created immediately through some passive activities, but I didn't comply. But she never understood that I was married because I didn't have the ring on me. After she saw that I'm not active and I'm not cooperating with her vacuum that she created, gradually she became more and more aggressive, and she began to hit tables in the office and to create too much noise just to have more attention. I didn't cooperate with that as well, but I knew that someone misperceived me and misjudged me, and I was not a single. So the next day in the workshop, of course I'm teaching them this workshop, so I also need to maintain a sense of order. I can't go in a personal conflict with no one, or talking about the small details with anyone. So I need just to undermine the psyche of the group to be able to send a message without creating any tension, without creating any conflict. So that's why the next day I went and I said, oh, I had to wear the ring. I didn't wear it because I didn't think it's important. I'm not kind of very traditional in my relationship, in my how I approach things. But then that time I realized that I had to wear the ring, and I wore it, and I went to the workshop the next day, and immediately all the tension disappeared. And I maintained the workshop very nice, with a lot of order. I was very effective and successful. So this is the idea of how we send messages, how we send messages to the world. I believe in the right of everyone to get dressed however they want. You can get dressed however you want. No judgment. I will not judge you on how you get dressed. But if I'm going to go into a partnership with you, into a business partnership with you, or if I'm going to have a personal relationship with you, if I'm going to allow any person to get into my inner cycle, I need to know that I'm dealing with a person that is not self-destructive, that is not going to risk me as well, that is not going to make any choice that may lead to, let's say, the destruction of the group, of me, through that person. So let's say when I see the person dressed in a certain way, I can see that he knows what's going on, how he pays attention to the small details, and that makes me also create, this is not the only way that I'm creating a judgment, but that definitely gives me a sense of direction. So take this wherever you want. No judgment. There's a lot of unconditional love. But we're living in a social environment, and it has its own judgment. So how we are being perceived may also dictate how we are progressing in our social environment. I hope I could give an answer to that. Thank you for the question, Halta. Thank you everyone for staying with me. I'm Shredi Jabareen. Ciao.